if you are coming here as an international student, whether you're studying engineering, whether you're studying arts, whether you're doing a master's, people who are coming as masters, it is almost triple the money that domestic students make.
And whatnot. But today's episode, I'm starting off, and I'm taking the lead because
Damn.
I'm about to interview this shit because we realized like a lot of folks are really interested in knowing about how you came into this country, the things that you have done, all the things that I can expose about your infinite amount of university BS that I had to experience and whatnot.
In truth, people were just bored hearing about you. They were like, yeah,
That's very true. I feel like I've been thinking about this. I feel like I live like a very vanilla life compared to you. So it's we're able to like make it hella spicy. So like
damn. Okay.
But definitely talking about, I think for viewers, definitely we're talking about Arnav's experience coming into Canada today as an international student. We will be touching on some of the very generic areas that Arnav might or might not have faced challenges in. We will try talking about like I'm assuming Arnav, like you have some advice for these people that are also looking forward to coming into Canada or America or anywhere as an international student. And finally, we'll touch upon like some of your experiences, like some of like the experiences that you have come across, like things that you have known before, and like I guess mythbusters that we might have. Before we get started, Arnav, and I think we have already done this multiple times over the last couple of episodes. First of all, please give us a like, follow, subscribe, all the places. Like, I can like look around left, right, center, wherever like Arnav puts. Like Arnav's the one who's editing these videos. Like wherever the link points out, like please like, follow, subscribe wherever you want to. Well, we would really like your support. Also, if you have any topics that you would want us to cover, please leave it in the comments. We would love to hear back from all of you guys.
Damn, such a professional intro. Like I appreciate
Oh,
it.
listen, I gotta sound professional because I'm the one who's doing interviewing. If it was the other way around, I'd obviously change up. I'll go like full plug mode and whatnot, but can't do that right now. One quick thing that I would also like to add in, we have social media accounts right now, Arnav and Mo everywhere, Instagram, TikTok, Messenger, you have YouTube, whatever accounts that we have. I'm not even sure if you have Messenger.
We do not have Messenger.
If you don't need Messenger, you can slide into Arnav's DMs. Like he's definitely looking forward to like some exciting messages, or maybe not. I don't know if I can like talk about that. But he's always there, so feel free to do that. So Arnav, before we get started, I know we have done this before, but can you quickly introduce yourself, like your home country, and what brought you into Canada?
Yeah, like the last 4 videos, if you guys can't tell, I'm not Canadian, original Canadian. I'm actually...
I'm sorry, was the accent? I cannot tell at all, bro. Like solid, very thick. I'm not making fun of anything.
But yeah, so I'm originally from India, coming from Delhi, and I moved here back in 2015 for my university. I basically got admission into University of Toronto as an international student, and that's when I decided to move. So I was 18. I did my Bachelor's of Applied Sciences, that's what they call it here. In India, they call it B.Tech, but Bachelor of Applied Sciences in Computer Engineering. So I moved here in September, so around the time right now, and one of the reasons we are trying to cover most of the international student thing right now is because of this month. A lot of people are moving into the country, and I think looking forward to advice, and hopefully I can provide some information about that.
For sure. So one thing I think I know the answer to this, and because I've asked you, I know too much about you, but why specifically Canada? And I think I would let you answer that question with an additional follow-up in your head, like why Toronto, why University of Toronto for higher education?
Yeah, and that's a great question. Like, so for me, I was part of like this curriculum where we learn for an exam in India, It's called IIT. So IIT is a university. We do an exam, so the entire name is IIT JEE, and we call it JEE Mains and JEE Advanced. So I was studying for this exam for like maybe 6 years or something, and generally, like, yeah, starting from 7th grade, they basically pick students and everyone studies, and it's something that people cannot imagine. Like it's like movies, you know, like people go after school directly to this coaching, they call it coaching classes, and they're there for like 3 hours straight, and they're studying there. So I think like starting to when I was in 11th grade, I kind of knew that I might not make it, but I kind of wanted to give it my 100%, and I tried. But I think like starting 12th grade, it was like pretty evident that I might not get the rank that I want. Just to give a bit of an idea, during my time back in 2015, about 1.3 million people sat for this, and the seats are limited to around 3 to 5,000 people.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it is a lot of competition, and one of the reasons I think like you can see how like India is known for being good at maths and all of these subjects is because there's a lot of competitiveness. So I came. I did not get the rank. I still remember my rank. I got 8374, and definitely, it's a decent rank, but unfortunately, just not good enough to be part of IIT. Thankfully, I had a backup in my pocket, which was basically I did apply to international schools, and I was fortunately in the financial place where I could support myself. And
Great.
so I applied to a bunch of universities. University of Toronto wasn't an exception. There was universities in Australia. I applied to 5 universities in Australia. I applied to University of Manchester, applied to University of Oxford, and applied to University of Toronto, University of British Columbia, and also a couple of Singapore universities, NUS and NTU, very popular institutions. So anyone. Yeah, great engineering universities. Yeah. So all the top universities, I didn't get into NUS and NTU. That was a big rejection, and I didn't get into Oxford. To be fair, Oxford exam, I didn't even study for it because I didn't want to go into Oxford at all. And frankly, didn't want to go outside the country. But I had pretty decent academic merit and also sport merit. I had played soccer throughout my school life, and I had also like gotten decent marks. So looking at my portfolio, I got accepted into a few universities. The University of Manchester was already accepted back in May or something, and I think I got UBC probably like right after I got my IIT result. So it was a good relief. And U of T happened a little later, so I was pretty much planned to go to UBC. I was like, okay, yeah, I'm going to UBC, and then U of T happened, and I was really happy because I would say like in totality, like I think U of T was a similar kind of university, if not better, in terms of its education. Of course, I didn't want to pay the money I had to, but thankfully I was in the financial place where I could pay the money for it. Great. So yeah, that's how I landed University of Toronto.
So touched on some really good points. Like I think you mentioned that you applied to all these universities, and in grade 12 you knew. And honestly, I don't know what the standard is among a lot of the Indian folks. Arnav would know. Again, I'm Bengali. My parents I've definitely always, known that like I need to be at the top. But if you're ranked 8,000 out of like 3 point something, I think you mentioned like 1.5 million to 3 million people.
1.3.
That's crazy. That's a really good result, dude. Like I'm like, I don't generally compliment you, but like I think achieving that is extremely hard, I'm assuming. And even when that many people are sitting in an exam, I'm assuming it's kind of like your SATs or like other knowledge based exams where you drop like a mark and you're behind about like 10,000-15,000 people.
Yeah, definitely very similar. I would say like in IIT, like out of 1.3 million, like it does sound like, oh wow, you did a really great job. I would say like, yeah, like if you're getting in the top 80,000, you would be able to get other institutes as well. Like there are other institutes that would take you in, if not IIT. and they would give you some other subject, sometimes even computer engineering, based on those rankings. So
Right.
it's not necessary like you have to go into IIT. At my time at least, like other institutes looked into your IIT score. So and the exam is super hard. Like the exam starts at I think 8 or 9 a.m. in the morning, and there's two exams that happen, like I think 2.5 hours each, so it's like 5 hours with like a lunch break in between. So
That's crazy.
it ends around 3 or 4 p.m. So it's really like your entire day gone. And generally the questions are extremely hard, but like each question you get is like a minute, maybe less than a minute. So realistically you don't have that much time. So the way it works is that you have some short questions, you have long questions. The short questions are obviously going to take less time. The long questions take they can be as big as like the 30-minute questions you can do in university. So it's really a race
Fair.
against time.
Fair. I'm gonna, since our episode's more so on like international, I just wanted to compliment you on like how challenging that is. For sure, I think being a domestic student, obviously there's something that we don't go through. So it's just like so impressive. Like the idea of these competitions like are bizarre. Like we definitely went through competitions, but definitely nothing like that, especially when we were in high school.
Yeah. I mean, Canada does have some competitions. I think like not a lot of people go through them.
Right.
I forgot, like there's this math competition. Like there's obviously international Olympiads that happen.
There's some like Waterloo math, Waterloo math and comp sci. No, but those are basically, I'm saying that those are optional. Like you don't need to rank in those. Like your future doesn't depend on that. Right? Like it's like most like, hey, it's fun. I will do it for fun.
Fair enough.
I will move on to the next question that I kind of planned for you. It's like, I think you talked about your timeline in grade 12 that you knew that you wanted to have some other options outside of India.
Yeah.
Can you tell me like what are, like on a higher level? I know like it's really hard to go into like the nits and bits, but like what your process was about this whole process?
Yeah.
Starting, I want to like start off with like, I think you mentioned that in grade 12 September or starting grade 12 you realized that like, hey, I want to have some backup options, all the way to like you got into University of Toronto. You're like, hey, this is my offer letter. This is like you're coming into the country. Can you like touch upon like the entire process or like on like higher level?
Yeah, no, fair enough. And I think like one of the things is like because you start early, institutes also try to make sure that the 12th grade you finish your syllabus a lot before time. So like for example, like in India the sessions run from around April to April or May to April, right? Like that's how the session begins. And generally our course is completed by, I would say, like August, September. The entire course is completed for 12th grade. So because you've already studied in 11th, you already are studying parts of 12th, and like the idea is like by the time you're September, you're gonna start your revision.
Great.
And
for your board exam, I'm assuming.
Yeah, you're gonna start revision. There's gonna be board exams. Board exams happen in April, but before board exam, there's pre-boards that happened during our times, and that happened around November, December. But also in the coaching classes. So coaching is separate from school. Just to be clear, school has the pre-boards and the boards, but the coaching has something called All India Test Series, which is AITS, and the entire country that is studying at FIITJEE Coaching Center, for example, would be giving this exam, and you're going to be ranked amongst all of them. So the idea is like it's kind of simulating your JEE exam, but you're giving that regularly, and you kind of see your rank within the FIITJEE people. And a lot of people from different institutes will also give the exams of FIITJEE just to see like how they do against these students, right?
Right.
So you get a really good idea of where you stand in the country. And I was getting like around like 2000-ish rank pretty regularly, which realistically meant that I wouldn't get computer engineering as a option, because computer engineering or computer science goes to about the first 200 to 300 students, the top. So the way it works is the initial 400 or 500 students get the computer science, and then mechanical goes away, and then chemical, etc., etc. So like people basically get a lottery system, choosing system based from the first rank, and the seats fill up like that.
Right.
So it was very clear that I wouldn't get computer engineering, and I really wanted to be a computer engineer, right? So I think at that point my process started. A lot of people start from 12th, initial beginning of 12th itself. Some people start from 11th. So if you guys are looking, anyone who is younger in high school right now and looking to come abroad, I think the first thing I would recommend is looking into your extracurriculars, because they really, really matter. No matter what people tell you, you need to do good in your academics. That's a threshold, minimum threshold you have to pass. But I think your extracurriculars really give you an edge. So make sure you have a good portfolio. If you can build upon that portfolio, if you can win some competitions or do something, participate in debating or something like that, that's a very good way to do it. In our school, a lot of people went into the leadership activities, so they became like head boys, head girls, etc., and that's what they went towards.
What's a head boy? I'm so sorry. This is bizarre to me. Like, what? You know what? I'm gonna take my dirty mind out of this conversation. What do you do as a head guy?
Yeah, so head boys and head girls are just leaders of the university, of the school, and they represent the school. So we had like 2 head boys and 2 head girls every year.
Arnav, were you a head boy at any point?
I wasn't like that. It's like I think over there someone gives a speech. I forgot what they call in your school. In schools, like someone.
Oh, are you talking about like your graduation speech?
Yeah. Someone does it, right?
Yeah.
Valedictorian. Yeah.
It's like valedictorian. Oh my god.
Yeah, so it's kind of similar, but yeah, we have like 4 people, like 2 head boys and 2 head girls. But then we also have vice head boys, vice head girls. We have prefects. We have the entire thing. So I was
the idea of like a head boy is just I'm sorry. I'm really trying to keep it together in this podcast. Like, knowing how dirty my mind is, it's just like it's going over my head.
Yeah.
Anyway, please continue.
But anyway, so yeah, I was the vice president of the math club. So that's the title I had. Moving forward, so so you get your portfolio
on like extracurriculars and applications.
Yeah. Once you finish that, then in September or October, that's when you will apply. I was late because I didn't actually consider a second option. My option was, okay, if I don't get IIT, I will take a lower university in India itself, and that would be good enough. But like my relatives, my parents, they all forced me into taking or going into a university abroad. So that's when I applied to like all the universities I mentioned, and I couldn't apply to a couple of them because I was late. So for example, I couldn't apply to Cambridge because the admissions had already closed. So just be careful. You want to be applying around the August, September time. The earlier the better, because they do take you in first come first serve.
Okay.
Sorry, really quickly.
I just wanted to, before we continue, I wanted to clarify one thing for our viewers. Like, since a lot of folks, this is something that I get from a lot of folks who are applying here. So if my session starts in September, let's say 2024, September 2024, which is next year, you're saying that by the end of August 2023, literally 1 year before that, I should be done with my applications. I should be applying.
You should start. You should definitely start applying. Like August, you should start applying. September is when you should be in full force of applying, and I think October or November is when it's getting closed. So
when are the deadlines generally? Sorry, like, since I've never gone through, I have a different process of applying, so I would like to.
October and November, as I mentioned, I think like universities start closing. I think by December, almost every university is closed. I don't think anyone takes after January for sure.
Okay. So for viewers, folks, like if you're watching it from outside of Canada, if you're trying to apply, please follow what Arnav just mentioned. This is something I get from my cousins who are in Bangladesh. They always ask me, and I have never gone through this process of applying internationally. So please be aware of the deadlines. And it's always, I think Arnav touched upon a really good point, which is like it's first come, first serve.
Yeah.
So always remember that the longer you're waiting, the more you're falling behind in that competition, because no one's going to wait for like 10 applications to come in, go through 10 of them and then judge you. It's more so like one application comes in, you judge that, and then the next application. So it's like, ideally, the sooner you apply, maybe the competition will be way less than like the later you apply, because like then at that time the number of seats will be taken. So sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Arnav. I just wanted to like add that as a plus point. Yeah.
No, that's good, and I think that's a great segue, Mo. So let's move on to what happens once you get your admission. What do you do once you get your admission letter? So I would just say focus on researching a bit more about the city, because I did not research a bit more about the university. And the point I was mentioning before you cut me off was actually like if you apply early, you get scholarships. You can actually apply for scholarships. So if you're researching early, even if you don't apply for scholarships in September, you can always research early. Like let's say if I had researched after I didn't get into IIT and I was like, I had made up my mind into going to university, I kind of relaxed and I was like, okay, now I'm done. I've been studying for 6 years. Now it's the first time in my life I have no responsibility or anything. But if I had just researched about the university a bit more, I would have realized that there were scholarships that were being offered. And in my year, I think I could have gotten one of them. And that would have covered all my tuition. They would have paid me about 20 grand a year to just for my my stay. So in total, I would have gotten $70,000 per year to study at University of Toronto, and I would have saved over around $300,000 in the 4 years, which is a huge amount of money. Like in $300,000, you can almost pay for half a house in Canada at this point. So like I definitely missed that opportunity, and I didn't realize that it was available to me. So I think Mo mentioned it last time, and I would mention it again. Look at scholarships. It's a great way to add it to your portfolio. It's a lot of money, and it's very easy to get. Especially if you're an international student, 100% recommend doing that.
One other thing that Arnav really touched upon is like some websites that, and Arnav, I'm assuming we will be giving these out on our descriptions, but Scholarship Canada is a really good website. There are tons and tons of scholarships. People always go for the biggest scholarships, like like the $10,000, $20,000 one scholarship. But if there are scholarships worth like $1,000, and if you just need to write an essay, sometimes it might just be a paragraph, and you win $1,000. I mean, on the grand scheme of things, you're like, oh, $1,000 isn't covering my $50,000 tuition. But who's giving you $1,000 anyway?
Yeah.
If someone gives me $1,000, I would take it for free. You'd write like 20 paragraphs, you get $20,000. And there are more scholarships than the number of applicants.
Yeah.
So always look for scholarship. There are always ways you can apply. There are different ways, and we'll be touching upon that in the future. But Arnav, thank you so much for bringing it up. This kind of gives a bit of segue. You mentioned this multiple times, and I think we covered it in our debt versus housing, all the episode. But what was the cost of tuition like, and how did you plan that? How do you plan to pay your tuition and whatnot?
Yeah. So, and great point again. Like, tuition is expensive. First of all, I would say that tuition is expensive. If you are coming here as an international student, whether you're studying engineering, whether you're studying arts, whether you're doing a master's, people who are coming as masters, you guys know the price of tuition already. But for people who are going to come next year, it is almost triple the money that domestic students make. It is almost triple, almost always. Sometimes it's double in MBAs, but you would see there is almost a factor between 2 to 3. And generally nowadays, with the expenses rising in Canada, I would say domestic students are paying around 24,000 for engineering, which means that triple, we are as international students, we are expected to pay around $60,000 a year right now. For me, when I was coming at my time, this is back in 2015, I was paying $45,000. First year 45, second year 48, third year 51, and fourth year 54. So that's how it would work.
Crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I say this, obviously, I'm very grateful, but also I feel for a lot of these international students. Just so you know, we all understand education is expensive, and we all sympathize. It's not something that we take lightly, but it's better if you have a better financial plan. Obviously, I think you can plan for it better, and you can save a lot of money.
Yes.
For sure.
So yes, and 100%, and a lot of people I know who took debt and come to the country. I've seen a lot of people take debt and come to the country and work part time and do it. I applaud you. Fortunately, I wasn't the one of them. I was fully sponsored by my parents. I was very lucky to do that.
Arnav is like one of those like people that we know, on our politics, that guy who just got a small loan of $1 billion from his dad and ran for the presidency in like some country that we know about. Arnav is like that. He just got a small loan of $1 billion, like basically, which is very fair. I get it. I understand. I'm sorry.
Let's not get politics into this. We're gonna get roasted. But
so. I know because there are tons of good topics to cover, so I'm going to move on to a couple of more serious questions. It's so in terms of legal documents, what was it like? So once you have your offer letter, where do you go apply, and what's the process? What's that process like, and how was it for you? Because I'm assuming you got a one-way ticket.
Yeah.
And you got a one-way ticket coming into Toronto from Delhi. So what was that whole process like? What did you do from applying for a permit to landing there?
So that's a good question. So I think the first thing first, you need to accept your offer. So acceptance, they give you an email on the offer letter, and then you have to go to the link. They give you a link and email. You have to create your own account. Once you create the account, then you have to accept it. Once you have accepted it, they kind of that becomes the offer letter becomes your official document, but they also give you another letter which you have. So you have a couple of letters with you. You take those you take those letters and you apply for student visa. You apply for visa, and you also apply for a permit as well. But the permit you get on the airport. They tell you that you'll get the permit on the airport. But you have to collect some documents beforehand, and these documents will be mentioned to you by the university. So a few documents that would be mentioned will be your financial documents that they would tell you. They would tell you you need to carry the acceptance letter. They will tell you that you need to carry your visa. You need to have your visa, obviously. But except that, you also need to have a proof of accommodation, and that's a very important point, and that's a point that a lot of people struggle with, because if you don't have a proof of accommodation, they wouldn't let you inside the country, because you have nowhere to stay. How do they know that you're not gonna act in any illegal way, or you're gonna just sleep on the bench? So they need to make sure you're actually have a valid area to stay. And so for that reason, you have to find a place. If you don't have any relatives or anyone living in Canada, you have to find a place to stay within Canada from outside the country. And if you guys haven't seen it, our previous episode is all about renting, so definitely check it out. I would say we do talk explicitly to be aware of beware of scammers. There's a lot of scams going around. I would really highly suggest to take university accommodation if you can get that. It's the safest choice, even if it's a little expensive. But if you do not get the university accommodation, I would say try to come here and take Airbnb. Mohammed mentions that in the previous episode, and try to figure out the things as soon as possible and get a good accommodation that meets all your needs.
Sure, that makes sense. So now this is gonna. So I think we covered. So just for a summary of what we have covered so far, we covered the whole application process, your house hunting process, you coming to Canada. So right now, and your motivation behind why Canada, why different universities, we have covered all that. This part of the video is more so the emotional side of things. So essentially, what was your mental health and what was your mental state? I'm assuming you have always lived at home. You have lived with your parents. You have never lived by yourself. So how was that like? Because that's I think your first impression is obviously leaving parents behind, and I'm assuming that's a very painful process that we're both experiencing right now. My parents are in Toronto. I live in Seattle. Your parents are in Delhi. You live in Vancouver. So it's what was going through your head, and what did you tell yourself? You're this is how I'm going to take the next steps of my life.
I mean, of course, coming from the footsteps of just not making it to the university you wanted to, right? I obviously wanted to go to IIT, didn't get into it. and then coming into a new country, which felt like, wow, like where am I, right? Like it was like completely like a dream. Like I remember my parents came to drop me off. My mom came to drop me off, and she just said, hey, just go out and just explore the city. And I went outside and I was on Spadina Street. If anyone doesn't know, there's a Spadina Crescent, which is like a roundabout, and you see a huge building which has been destroyed at this point, but there used to be a huge college building on Spadina Crescent. And I just looked at it and I was like, wow, this is so different from my country. And you felt lost. You felt like everything was bizarre around you.
Great.
So there was a lot of tough places. Like, you know, like I was like thinking a lot of things going on in my brain. But I think in the end, like because I had so much to do at that time, I think like I didn't really have the time and process all of this until my parents left, until my mom left. Once my mom left, I think like in the beginning when she was leaving, it wasn't that emotional because I was like, okay, you know what, like she's just leaving, it's fine. And it doesn't hit you. Once she leaves and everything is done and dusted, once the first night you have to spend alone is when you start feeling it. You're like, wow, like this place, no, there's nobody around. And by the end of the weekend, like because I was living by myself, I did not get university accommodation because I didn't start on time. I would say like I definitely felt the loneliness. I felt the fact that, hey, like there was, it's quiet, completely quiet. And Canada is quiet. Like if you want a quiet place, you can get a quiet place in Canada.
Yeah.
So
not talk about Seattle at all.
yeah, but like no, but to be true to be told, right? Like night times, Canada is quiet. Like imagine Delhi. Like I was living on the you know, the main road of Delhi. Like it was like loud, like people around me every time. And you come to Canada and like it was quiet. And like I didn't make that many friends in my first semester, especially that I knew very well. And most
You
of them
still don't. Just, you know, you're like a very much loser. Sorry, I know you're going through this. Like I'm trying to like lighten the mood up, but yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
Please continue.
And you know, like just to be clear, like the first 4 months, like most of the friends that I made had families, and so they all went home for Christmas and whatsoever. And so like in the Christmas, being alone was like, wow, like okay, I have to like kind of entertain myself during this time. And New Year's happened, and you don't know what you're gonna do for New Year's. There's nobody like you know that you're gonna do anything with for New Year's. So I think like that time, like to entertain yourself during that duration was probably the most hard part for me.
Yeah.
And I think a lot, like for anyone coming abroad, you're gonna have a lot of time by yourself, and so learning how to make yourself happy is one of the skills you would have to learn.
For sure. No, that's very fair. And I understand. I think I understand when you say that like a lot of the friends that you made were staying at home.
Yeah.
I was fortunate enough to do that, and I never felt like what it really feels like till I moved out. So props to you. I can only imagine the struggles that you went through at that time, obviously living in a completely new country. I'm going to touch upon a couple of like other, like I know like we're kind of running a bit longer, so we might have to split this conversation up into multiple videos. But I wanted to like discuss your, like I think you talked about cost of living, accommodation and whatnot. These are something that we talked about, but like how did you get over this like homesickness, and like what were some things? And like I think, sorry, let me rephrase that question, because it's like I think this is a very crucial point that we are touching right now. But I think we as domestic students, or I am okay with like talking to someone who's speaking the same language and whatnot. You know, like I get that, and it's like, but obviously when you're coming from a new country, there are language barriers, there are cultural barriers, there are a bunch of barriers that you have to like overcome to make friends. And obviously there are like homesickness and whatnot. So how did you manage all of it? And like what was the voice inside of your head that was like, hey, I need to go out and make friends, I need to go out and like, you know, get over this thing?
Yeah. So a bit about me, right? Like I was a bit more introvert. I was an introvert throughout school. Crazy. Couldn't have told. You You look like a very social, fun guy.
I would not say that. No, definitely not a fun guy. Like, I can name at least 100 other people who are more fun, but like, that's
Yeah.
not, that's
No, but yeah, I was definitely very introverted. I was more introverted than I am now. And the thing is, like, it wasn't easy for me to approach someone. So I made a lot of mistakes. I tried to stay within class. I tried to make a lot of friends within class who would sit next to me. The problem is, like, sitting in the front row, because that's generally where I sat. Most of the people, they were very focused on academics, and we would have a lot of academic conversations, but it wasn't really like like, let's talk about something outside of school. So we were really forming a friendship that was limited to university. I would say, like, yeah, join clubs. There are a lot of clubs. We have talked a lot about the advantages of clubs in terms of social settings, leadership, portfolio. But I think even to tackle loneliness, I know a lot of people who joined Indian Society in UFT, which was a great way to meet people who are Indians and not in engineering. They're from arts, they're from other backgrounds, and you meet people who have kind of similar cultural experiences. It's not necessary that they would be from Delhi, but they might be from, like, for example, they might be from Chennai, or they might be from somewhere in the Bengal area or Gujarat area. So they would be from every corner of the country, but there's still a lot of similarity in the culture. So I think that part was something that I missed, and I think I would really recommend anyone to do that. Other things is, like, for me, like, I would talk to my friends back home pretty regularly, so that kept me in touch with them. And watch a lot of movies. I think, like, for Indians, like, movies is a big industry, but I think
in my head, because this guy would, like, literally, the things that I have heard from Arnav, like, going to movies in the middle of, like, nowhere, and then, like, showing up to the front of the class, raising it. I'm like, that's what's shaking my head, because I'm like, first year Arnav would show up to class, sit in the first row. Professor, I have a question. That was you. Bro, you were asking all the questions. You're the loudest guy who would ask, like, the smartest question. And I was just like, yo, this kid's so smart. I don't want to be friends with him. I'm kidding. I didn't feel like that, but obviously that's just because I'm nice. Not an asshole, though. Like, that's different.
No, I mean, I definitely was a loud kid in class, and I mean, I don't regret it. I think it's good to ask questions, and I would always encourage everyone to do so. But from a loneliness perspective, that's what I would recommend. I would say, like, I was feeling guilty. I wanted to make friends outside of Indians. That was the one thing that I came into the country with the mind. Like, I was like, hey, like, I want that foreign exposure. I think that was okay mindset. It's not a bad mindset, but I think it's not the greatest mindset either. I think you are uncomfortable in a lot of areas, and I think if you can find comfort in some area, be it your social circle, I think, like, you should probably, like, strive for a bit of comfort. And for me, fortunately, I did find a friend who was Indian, and I was really close friends with him for, like, almost my entire uni life. So I would say, like, definitely him around me was probably, like, the comfort that I needed at that time. Probably wouldn't have survived without him, to be honest. So yeah.
Like, basically, you look for comfort within brown people, so, like, that's why you were like, there's this one guy who's brown, not the same kind of brown as me, but, I'll just be friends with him. He wasn't talking about me, if anyone's, like, wondering.
Not talking about you.
Yeah, definitely not. I would also not be friends with Arnav. Anyway, I know that I have a lot more to cover with you, Arnav. Mm-hmm. I think this part of the video, I think this has been really good. I would like to continue this conversation on our next video.
Yeah.
But for now, for our viewers, I would encourage you guys to ask questions. Just a recap of what we have done today. Mm-hmm. We have talked about Arnav's motivation behind coming to Canada. We have talked about Arnav's motivation behind choosing University of Toronto, and between a lot of the other international schools, we have talked about timelines on when you should, as an international student, when you should apply. We have talked about the documents that you need. We have talked about coming here and the feeling of loneliness, and, like, how do you kind of tackle that, and honestly just touch kind of breezed upon like the very first set of experiences as like an international student, like settling in Toronto, Ontario, in Canada. And in the next video, as an international student, we'll be covering a lot more so like your living experience in Toronto, how you did your groceries. I think we kind of like talked about it, but talked about like living and whatnot, but talk about you facing the harsh winter, how do you manage it weather-wise, what kind of jacket you can get, your sleeping schedule, all in all, like how you manage like your time and whatnot. And finally, one last thing that we'll be covering in our next video is like if there were anything that you could have done differently, what you would have done. But stay tuned. That is also coming in the next set of videos. Again, folks, hope you stay safe out there. If you want to roast Arnav and if you reach 100 subscribers, we're definitely going to put like a paper bag on his face. Really hoping for that.
You have to come to Vancouver for that, yeah?
Bro, listen, if I have to do that, that's literally like a 2-hour drive. It's not even that far.
Perfect.
Kidding. But till we meet again.
Till we meet
All
again.
right.
Take care,
Thanks,
guys.
folks.